All right, we're back. Freedom Path Investors Podcast in the first site of adult beverages in a while.
Yeah, there you go. What episode is this, Brian?
12.
12.
And our special guest is the wonderful Mr. Corey Boyles.
Say hi, Corey.
Hello.
So, Corey, we've known you for a while in the investing circles, and you've had a pretty awesome journey we'll talk about. And I'm just going to hang out and have fun here today. We just got done wrapping up a little video session Corey filmed for us, and I'm exhausted because we suck as actors.
Yeah, that was completely nerve-wracking, but
it's way harder doing it than you think it's gonna be.
Yeah, like he asked us, like, "Hey, are you guys good? Like, you guys anxious at all?" We're just like, "No, we're fine." And then I for sure was just like, I freaked out as soon as the camera was on. I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, you forget all of your lines, and like you try to remember every single adjective, and you mix 12 words into one, and you guys did great.
Oh, thanks.
You did great. Hope that.
And you have the whitest teeth too of anybody I know.
Well, they're fake.
Have you ever revealed that on the podcast before? Fake teeth?
Okay, so
do you want to tell a fake teeth story?
Who did you piss off?
So the fake teeth story goes like this. Okay, so I'll try to make it more PG, as PG as I can. But basically,
13.
13. Someone accused me of stealing something. Okay, I'm not gonna say what that thing was, and it was something that I would never.
It wasn't teeth.
No, it wasn't teeth.
You had them at that
it wasn't
point.
teeth.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the thing that he accused me of stealing, I would never want. Okay. But he did anyways. And so he had a pool ball in his hand, and he actually cracked me over the mouth with it, and boom, my teeth came flying out. So
he hit you, or he threw it?
He hit me.
Like
where I'm at with you, because there was multiple people. I was looking at this person over here, and he just like side clocked me in the mouth, and my teeth came out, and we ended up getting into a fight. So I picked up, this is a good story, I guess. So I picked up my teeth after the fight, and I put them in a mug of milk, vitamin D milk that was there. And I drove to the hospital, and then they went ahead and just put them right back in my mouth. No anesthesia or anything like that. They just put them back in, and they eventually just died, and I had to put a bridge in. So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So when you first put them in, though, it was like
they stayed for like 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were hanging out there. They're chilling.
Falling out.
Yeah, but then like one day, like I was biting this, and I was like, man, that feels loose. So I went to the dentist, and it was like, yeah, your teeth are dying. You gotta replace them. So.
Did the guy pay for that? Like somehow, or
no, man, it was,
show everybody on YouTube.
Did he go to jail?
Show those pearly whites. Look at that smile. That's a $1 million smile.
My dentist goes, "You're gonna have a smile like someone on People Magazine or something like that." I don't know.
That's a smile that helps us buy houses for sure.
It does, yeah.
Nice. How old were you?
20, 21.
Oh,
right at 21
okay,
for sure.
okay.
Yeah. So that was a fun time in my life.
Yeah, things get crazy at 21.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
like, yeah.
It was pretty rough, man.
Apparently.
Tough life.
Yeah.
I don't even think about
streets in Florida.
Yeah, I don't even think about it, but like, yeah. And I'm not the one being interviewed right now. But yeah, it's cool. This is a real estate investing podcast, not how to
This
buy
is a real estate investing podcast. We're going to kind of go off topic a little bit today and talk more about, Corey, you've been a full-time investor, acquisition buyer. You've kind of learned to follow your heart a little bit more and kind of dive into your passions. So,
yeah.
Just tell everybody a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So, well, I actually first started my post-high school career not knowing what I wanted to do at all. And
Same here.
Yep.
I didn't want to go get a degree because I actually hate school. I'm bad at it. And tests, I'm bad at tests. I don't like to learn things that I don't like to learn.
You're not interested for sure.
If I'm interested in it, though, I will suck up every single microbe of it. But otherwise, it's I won't remember anything.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
I think a lot of real estate people are actually like that.
I think a lot of people are like that.
I think a lot of people are like
they're being
that.
honest with themselves. Yeah.
Right.
More of the entrepreneur type people. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, my dad owns a business. My brother, my sister, my grandpa. Like, I've come from a long line of people who aren't very book smart or even regular smart, but like they kind of just figure out how to make an LLC. And then,
will they be watching this?
No, they don't. No, they don't support any of my ventures.
So your whole entire family have been entrepreneurs. So did you kind of know that you were always going to go? And
Yeah, I don't even consider myself an entrepreneur. I just consider myself a business owner.
Okay, sure.
Because I do what's already been done. but I just do it for myself. I do it my own way. But after high school, I went to massage school because I thought, well, you can't go wrong, as a single 19-year-old with massage skills. And also I had a friend that said I was really good. So went in massage school so I can make some decent money. And while I'm going through college, I figured that out. Well, that turned into a 7-year career, and which is the exact average career for a massage therapist. Yeah, like most people stop at 7 years. I had kind of did everything that I wanted to do with my massage career. I had a business. I worked with the MU swim team. And one day at that time, I was also doing a little bit of wholesaling. So I learned about wholesaling from a guy that was living with me. So I bought a house and I started renting. I house hacked. Okay. It was a 3-bedroom house in O'Fallon, and I rented out 2 of the bedrooms, and they were paying my mortgage. And one of the guys, Justin Van Ripper, he was living with me, and he was a sleep tech at that time. And so he'd go into work at like 7 p.m. and he wouldn't get home till like 7 a.m. And he hated doing the overnight thing. And Justin is a really, really smart guy. And he's like a super high S and a high C, if you know what those are. Yeah, profile. So he's really, really good at like researching and knowing his stuff. And just one day he's like, I just started this thing. It's called wholesaling. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so I just kind of watched him do his thing. It sounded like a kind of scammy, or it didn't sound like, I don't know, just like nothing I'd ever even heard of.
For sure. Yeah,
right?
Totally unfamiliar.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I didn't, I just kind of let him do it. And, he didn't really brag about it or anything like that. And, but then he told me about Sean Greaves, which is a local hard money lender. Yep. And he said, this guy will give you up to $50,000 if you can find a house to flip. And then you just use your own money to flip it. And that made sense to me. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I went to this, 2-hour seminar thing that Sean Greaves did. And I went and talked to him. And I just knew, like, there's just some times when you just know, like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to find a house and I'm going to flip it. And I didn't know anything about it at all. I was so green, but I just knew that I was like,
this is for me. Like, resonating.
I wasn't smart enough to like even overthink it. You know what I mean? It was like, it just sounded so simple.
Yeah.
I didn't think about the whole big picture yet. Mm-hmm. And so I just was like, back then, you guys know SSIC is a local, it's a local real estate club. Well, back then you could just send an email out through Meetup and everybody would get the email all at once.
I remember those. Yeah.
Were you around back then?
I started 2016 in my journey. That's when they were still doing the meetup.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is 2012 at that point, and I sent out an email, and everyone got the email, and I just said, like, I'm a new investor. I'm looking for a house to buy. What you got? Mm-hmm. Like, people do that. You see 12 of those a day on every Facebook group now, right? Yeah. But back then it was a little different. There was a lot less wholesalers.
How many people were going out to the clubs at that point?
Well, SSIC was definitely the biggest one, and then
the first one I went to, there's probably 200 people there.
Yeah, I actually only went to a handful of those, but there was probably about 100 to 150 when I was going there.
Back up real quick. What made you attracted to the whole entire
money? At first, it was like, as a massage therapist, I was making good money for me. But I had also like, I had never thought of myself making more than that, and I was, and I've never been motivated by money. It was just like, what I've been motivated by is freedom and time. Like, I don't want to work, me personally, I've never been this way. I don't want to work for full time unless it doesn't feel like work. So work to me, I even hate words like hustle and grind and work, because like, I don't like to work. Like, when we just did this video shoot, that wasn't work to me, We
had fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But at that time it was like, it was the same thing. It was like, it excited me because it was a new frontier of stuff to learn. And I thought I could make some money, and I felt like more of a businessman. I felt like I was doing bigger things. Did you ever
talk to anybody that got into real estate because they wanted to work more?
Right. No. Maybe some VAs I've hired, but
Yeah.
I ended up Michelle Moshiri, that's her name now, but she's a real estate agent. She had a short sale in North County in Hanley Hills.
Nice.
And I think I bought that house for, this is 2012 or 13, and I bought that house for like 12 grand.
Wow.
And it needed nothing. Like it had already been painted. All I did was, I think I spent up to $600 maybe in some like insulation in the basement and stuff I didn't even really have to do. And long story short, with that property, I was trying to get it rented, and then I was going to sell it to an out-of-state investor.
Okay.
Right. So I was building up my buyers list.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about leasing or showing the property or anything, advertising it, but I was just doing whatever. And it was like a couple months went by and I still hadn't rented. And I was like, maybe I should try to list this thing for sale at the same time. So I listed it for sale, and like the next day I just sold it vacant.
Oh, wow.
And made 10 grand.
Okay.
And then I took all that money and put it right into marketing, and then I did it again. And I talked to that same agent. I said, what else you got?
How did you pay for the house?
I used Sean Greaves' money. I had, at that time, I had $5 grand to my name.
Okay.
So,
Not a whole lot to.
no, I didn't have a lot.
Campaign and yeah.
No, I didn't at all. And that $5 grand went to closing costs and my 10% down or whatever.
For sure, yeah.
My 10% down was $1,200.
Yeah.
Plus another $1,000 for closing or whatever else.
Right.
And then I put in $500 or less, $600 and just fixing up the property.
Okay.
So then
It had to work out. You put all.
I had to, but I also was very optimistic. I still am very optimistic. I'm like, what can go wrong?
Well, yeah, just the fact that you only had to put $600 into a house. That
Right.
must have been a really
It
nice.
was super great shape.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay.
And yeah, so I sold it and I got 10 grand, and I started with 5 grand in my name, and now I have 15 grand and just tripled it. And it took a few months. And so I was like, I gotta do it again. So I took my money and I talked to Michelle and I said, hey, what else you got? Another short sale. I think I bought the next short sale for 14 grand. That was over in Jennings, and that one needed a little bit more work. So I thought, well, I'm not very handy. Everyone else in my life is handy except for me. I'm terrible. And hired a contractor and paid him. Long story short, with that guy, he ripped me off. I mean,
Really?
he did everything. He did like 80% of the work, and the other 20% after I had paid him his full check. Don't ever do that. I mean, in my opinion, you shouldn't pay unless you have a really good. Don't ever pay the first contractor first time you're working with them.
Right.
100% until the work is 100 to the 10%
Got to
done.
establish a relationship.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, that guy kind of took my money. So that deal was supposed to take like in and out 3 months, and in and out took 8 months. I had to refinance with my hard money guy.
Yeah.
And me and my buddy Pat, who's now my current contractor, we went in there and we did the rest of the work ourselves and got it rented, sold it, made another 10 grand on top of the refinance and everything else. I could still net another 10 grand.
So you netted it. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Meanwhile, my buddy Justin is wholesaling, and he's making 5 and 10 grand every 2 weeks, not doing anything. And I'm losing sleep, and like trying to figure out how to sue somebody.
Yeah.
And he's just rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
And so after that second deal, I was like, okay, like I got to figure out what you're doing. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to wholesale. And so I started doing my own marketing instead of just relying on this agent. That's when I started doing my own marketing.
Okay.
So how did you learn? What steps did you take to get there? Where like, okay, these are the marketing tools I want to deploy. How did you learn all that?
Yeah, whatever Justin told me to do.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Is there like a training that he went through when he's first?
Oh man, Justin is, like I said, he's spent a lot of time on Bigger Pockets and YouTube and just reading.
Yeah.
And he was he was the guy that would go out and get the information and then condense it for me, to everyman terms. And I'm just like, I'm the kind of guy, just tell me what I got to do. I'll do it. And so he's like, oh, you just, you market to landlords who are tired of being landlords. Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
And at this time, like it didn't see, like now it feels like there's 4,000 people in St. Louis doing that, right?
Yeah.
Back then it felt like there was 5. It really felt like that. Like the return rates back then were double. So I started small, and I bought a list of, I don't remember, maybe 3,000 names or something. It's been so long since I bought the absentee list, but maybe 3 to 4 or 5,000. And it was all like the North County stuff. And at this point, I already had a buyer's list because I was looking for people.
Right.
And what I was doing was actually, it wasn't looking for people in town. I was looking for people out of town. So I was using Craigslist heavily to find out-of-state investors. And I found this one guy. He lived in Texas. He was from Germany. He was an engineer, super smart guy, and they were looking to buy up a bunch of stuff. And the first wholesale I ever did, actually, it wasn't from my marketing. It was from I knew what this guy wanted, and this other guy had put something up for sale. Mm-hmm. And I called that guy up, and I said, I think I can sell that for you. I got a buyer. I didn't really try to hide anything, or I just told him hey, I got a buyer for you. If it works out, I'll make it work. And I think I made $4,000 on that deal. And I was like, oh my God, that was so easy. And it took 2 weeks. And so then I started doing the absentee thing. I was sending out 400 letters a week, and that's kind of what got me started with the wholesaling.
It's funny. There's a lot of the reverse aspect of that going on now. Like virtual wholesaling is all the rage, and we're actually working with somebody in California that's doing their marketing in St. Louis. So we've been their boots on the ground and helping them walk through the deals and everything. But it's interesting. I mean, they're still selling the rentals to out-of-state investors for sure.
Yeah, virtual wholesaling, that's something I thought that sounds great if you can get the systems together and make that work.
Yeah.
Because you can do it all from home, and I something about my personality just didn't work. I needed to be the one seeing the property.
Right.
Closing deals over the phone was not the easiest thing for you, is that
I think everyone's got their own way of how they close,
Yeah.
And part of my building trust process, I think I need not only, I don't know, you have to trust somebody for them to trust you, right? And it's not like I didn't trust the people I was mailing to, because what could they do to, unearn trust or hurt me or whatever? But I feel like I needed people to actually meet me, because my sales process involves little sales. The sales is kind of done on the very, very back end.
Yeah.
For me, I don't even really try. I just try to be the best version of myself on the appointment, and hopefully they like me as a person,
right.
And hopefully they want to do business with me based on that.
I'd say we've taken a similar approach. I mean, we on the phone call, we're just basically trying to get as much information to see if we're even going to be a fit to do business, right?
Yeah.
But that relationship is built in the living room, and getting to know those people and figuring out how you can help them.
I also kind of think it's fun of finding out their life story and how that relates to the property and everything like that. That's kind of an interesting dynamic.
This guy could have a 5-hour appointment every day.
That's good.
He can talk to anybody.
Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily good if you don't get the deal, but people's lives are interesting inherently, I think. There's a lesson to be learned or some sort of moral to be learned, especially if it relates to the house and the situation that they're in. So I find that really interesting. And you're right. However you do it or however I do it, he does it. It's little sales. It's really just building that rapport element with the seller, getting them to, it's like if they talk about themselves more, they'll get to like you more. Yeah. That's not like that's not me being a salesy person. That's just inherently who I am.
Right.
It sounds like that's kind of similar to you.
Yeah. I don't think everyone is built to be a acquisitions manager. And I wasn't the best. I'm not. Actually, I took the DISC personality test and a bunch of other personality tests. They said I had a lot of work to do when it comes to sales. And also I'm bad at taking tests. So, and it was a test that I took to figure out how good I'm at sales. So I don't think I'm really actually the best at sales. I mean, I was good for what I did, but
can you share what your results are?
Oh yeah.
Well, at that time I was what my results are so what do you mean?
SCID.
Yeah. So I'm a very high. So which is influence, which is basically I want to be able to influence people and and like me as well.
Yeah.
So like sometimes that doesn't, it's good, but sometimes it's not good because it can be hard when
Like you want someone to like you.
right.
That's the Achilles heel there.
Yeah, and it's like I don't want to hurt someone's feelings,
Yeah.
And so like it can be hard to say the hard stuff sometimes. Whereas like other people that I know that are high D's can just be like, oh no, let me stop you right there, sir. Like this, and this.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And they can say it, of course, in a much cleaner way. But I just kind of like nod and smile too much sometimes, And so I'm also a low. And normal life, so like when I took this test, it shows you how you are in normal life and then how you are professionally, because there's a difference. Like you shift, and so when I'm in my normal life, I'm a very low S and C. So like I'm not a researcher. I'm not a details person, but when it comes to work stuff, I am. So which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I think I took that test years ago when I was in my old career, and I was a high C, and I'm like, I read that now,
I can
like,
see
that's
that.
not me at all. Like,
Really?
today, like, I don't know.
Well, C's compliance, right?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, but I think of C as like a scientist.
it's definitely not me.
It's somebody who can go deep on a topic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way that I look at it.
Is that what it is?
That's the way I look at it. Like somebody who can like, maybe that's not you, but like it's somebody who can like read a whole book, or like when they're trying to learn about the process of making a beer, right? They learn about, they really learn it.
Yeah.
Like me, I'm like, okay, they put it in tanks and then like it comes out here at some point.
And then I drink beer. I drink it.
Well, I mean, we did the predictive index test, which is another personality thing, and I was a maverick, which, like, to me, when you read that against a high C, it's like, that's
You're right.
totally different.
Freaking Tom Cruise over here.
Yeah.
I was a collaborator, so yeah.
Collaborator? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think you and I probably may share a little bit. Because I just took the DISC test again, just out of curiosity. And I took it in a way of like, when have I been at my best, right? Because a lot of times people take these online tests because they're like down on themselves. They want to try to figure themselves out.
Yeah.
And I was actually feeling good about myself. So I took the DISC test and like it shifted. I went from a high C and S or whatever to high I and D, which I thought was interesting. So it's like the state that you're in really matters.
Yeah, and I think that can change. Like I think parts of your, like I think you are who you are fundamentally, but there are things about you and how you view the world and how you interact with people that can change.
Well, I think that's a great segue to talk about how you changed your careers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we were you started doing some wholesaling.
Yeah.
Did you become a wholesaler rehabber for a while before you got your acquisition manager job?
Yeah, so I kind of I was always good at networking in the beginning. Like that was probably a big part of my success because half the deals that I did, I think maybe the second year I was in business as an investor, I did 50 deals.
Nice.
Wow.
And then let's see, maybe the third. Oh, I think the third year I did about 50 deals too.
And that's by yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did Justin try?
Well, I say by myself, but not really. Like I had my business by myself, but half the deals I did were co-wholesales.
Okay.
So, and like I said, back then it was like, there was half a dozen of us that were actually doing it. Like that were like kind of the maverick wholesalers, right?
Or swapping deals and lining up buyers for each other.
Yes, exactly. Like there was, and we all got in at the same time too. And so some of us had the buyers and some of us had the sellers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I had the seller and I'd call up my buddy and I'd say, hey, you got somebody for this, right? I'd call him like in the driveway, leaving the appointment after I get under contract. Oh yeah, I got it. Send the pictures over. Cool. Vice versa. Like I just called somebody when I'm like having a slow week. What do you got for sale? I got buyers looking. And then, I'd make a few grand that way.
Wow.
So
yeah,
it was pretty good. And I was making money like I had never made before too.
Yeah.
I think my...
Like I had to rub down 50 backs to get.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I know.
Corey's over here
Think
like,
about hours.
This is my sales guy.
Yeah. I'll do whatever it takes to get something signed.
Exactly.
Yeah, you need a shoulder rub. I got you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So then this company, Fasterhouse, which you guys know.
Yeah.
Fasterhouse is one of the biggest companies in St. Louis, and they were growing and they needed a new acquisitions guy. And I met Brian through a networking meeting, the mastermind that I was in. And the most unassuming guy I've ever met. Like, sorry, Brian, if you're listening to this, I love Brian. And by the way, he's changed his style back then, but he had like the old like New Balance white dad shoes.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. With like the jeans that were like 3 inches too short. And then a Fasterhouse shirt that had been around for like, you know, the shirt was like, you know, it was an old shirt. And he just like didn't seem like a super successmal real estate entrepreneur. And that's exactly what
Millionaire next door.
Yes, the millionaire next door that you had no idea. And he was like he was extremely likable and like very humble and would listen to and talk to anybody. And so one day they needed an acquisitions guy and they needed a property leasing agent. Okay. And so they were like, Corey, if you want to be a leasing agent, you know, we can segue that into you being acquisitions at some point. And I was like, I don't know. I kind of like doing my own thing. Yeah. And, but you know, with a company, I'd have the backbone of being able to take out as many houses. You know, they got marketing people that work for them. They got everybody, people that go to closings, all that. I just got to take the appointment. So I went and took them up on that offer and I was with Fasterhouse for 4 years doing acquisitions for them. So, and I bought on average, actually it was like pretty average, like 30 to 35 houses a year. Okay. So I bought less houses, but they were like, the houses that we were buying were greater spreads. Yeah. And I also got paid based on the rehab.
You were putting out all the marketing yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. I wasn't doing any marketing and I mean, yeah. And it was a great team. I loved everybody that worked there and their business growing.
I mean, so what did you learn? Did you come to realize you didn't love it at that point?
Yeah. So my personality is like, you know, if I'm interested in something, I want to learn everything about it, you know, and I want to get pretty deep on it. And that was how it was with real estate. I want to meet everyone that's in the area that does it. I want to know how they're doing it. I want to learn the new things. I wanted to learn how I can be the best sales guy, you know? And I had done it for about 4 years. And in that time, actually, I started learning real estate photography because I wanted to take the pictures of the photos when they were done. And it wasn't even to save a buck. It was because I was actually like really, really interested in it. And it became one of those things that like I wanted to know more. I wanted to learn how to get better. I wanted to learn how to do it quicker. I wanted to learn, you know, how to be better, right? And it wasn't even about money at that point. And then it got to the point where I was like, actually, Mike Kitco, he was a coach of mine. Love Mike, and
Mike Kitco was a local kind of life coach.
He's actually Brian Schroeder's coach.
Yeah, he is. Brian Schroeder, owner of Fasterhouse. So he's an executive coach is what he goes by, but he's much more than that. And he's a good friend of mine. He one day we were in Panera and he was like, it was like the first of the year. It was like January. And he said, we were talking about what I really love to do because at that time, like I was starting to lose passion for real estate, real estate in general. It had been, you know, the frontier was gone for me. Like if I really wanted to have more frontier in real estate, I would have to grow what I was doing, like commercial, you know, or stop working for somebody else, you know, like that would be a new frontier. But working for somebody else, it was like I had done everything that I could do.
Well, was it a struggle too, since you had been on your own for a while, and then?
At that point, no, I had gotten past that. Yeah. I had gotten past that type of thing, and Fasterhouse was a company that, like, maybe another company, I would be thinking thoughts like that, like I hate working for someone else, or like I don't have any of the control. But I feel like I had a great platform, like they listened to me, and I was able to live the way that I wanted to. There was no like culture conflict at that time. No. Yeah. So. So I started doing, you know, real estate and he or photography. And then Mike's telling me like, hey man, like if you really like to do this, like you're fired up about this, it's okay to get paid to do what you love. Like you can start a business. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So this is like 2018. And started an LLC right then and just started building that business.
I think that's the definition of being an entrepreneur. You said you don't feel like an entrepreneur, but I think getting paid for what you love to do is pretty much.
To me, an entrepreneur is something different.
Yeah.
That was a word that always messed with my head. So like
you created something from scratch, totally new.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
It's like, to me, it's like a new frontier for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like, and sometimes I think everyone compares themselves to the biggest, you know, entrepreneurs out there, you know, and
some people just want to have that title.
Right. Yeah.
LLC, I'm an entrepreneur now.
And I think the entrepreneur is not like, it's become like culturally glorified amongst individuals who are
About the hustle and the grind,
industrial, you know?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I never identified with that because I actually had an internal conflict with that word because I felt less than, because I was like, I'm not really an entrepreneur. I'm not the first photographer. I'm not doing anything differently. Same with real estate. I'm not doing anything differently. And people would call me that, you know, and I still am like, that's not what I am. Like, I'm not an entrepreneur. And I don't think I want to be either. Like, most entrepreneurs fail hard, repeatedly, over and over. Most of them aren't Jeff Bezos, you know, most of them aren't Elon Musk. So
that's a true entrepreneur to use, guys like that.
Well, yeah, that's like the top echelon, like the easy, the low hanging fruit. Like, who's an entrepreneur? But like Brian Schroeder, entrepreneur. He probably wouldn't even say he is. I say he is because of how many, how many baskets he's holding, right? Because he's got a lot of businesses and they all support each other.
Yeah.
Which that in and of itself is entrepreneurial, you know.
For sure, yeah. I want to touch on, so before we sat down and talked, like you were saying, like not everyone has, like if you're in real estate, you're doing this thing, like you don't have to, I don't know what, subscribe to the hustle and grind narrative.
You said you don't have to do it if you don't love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you eventually severed ties, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that because Fasterhouse is my. Are you talking about Fasterhouse?
Yeah.
So we're not severed at all. They're my biggest client.
For sure.
I sponsor the real estate club. I talk to the people that work there. You know, I'm still good friends with them. So I wouldn't say sever. I would say that. So I was working with Fasterhouse for another 4 years, and they were growing, and they kind of changed some of the things in their business, and I think their expectations of me, you know, they were wanting more from me, right? And which is good. That's what they should be wanting. They should be wanting more from me, and I wasn't wanting more from me. You know, in that field, I wanted to
spend more time on doing stuff you love.
Actually, yeah, that's right. Like, I wanted to do more photography stuff, and to me, like the real estate stuff was a way to make money, and it ended up being like they called me into the office one day, and they're like, you know, you're not making the numbers, which my numbers had stayed the same. So it's not like I was getting worse. It's just that I wasn't getting better. Yeah. You know, and I actually like. It is a business that, like, especially now, you need to be doing more than sending mailers out, you know, and you need to be doing, like, you have to be networking, you have to be calling people, you have to be driving for dollars. And those are things I wasn't doing.
It sounds like hustle. It sounds like.
To me, exactly. You're right. It's hustle and it's grind and it's hard work. And those are things that I get anxiety thinking about, right? Sure. And it was like, they let me go. And I was upset, but then I was like, actually, like right afterwards, I was like, I can start over. I can be whatever I want.
Blessing in disguise.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm going to go all in on what I love to do. And it was it was such a relief, actually, because I felt like this huge burden. Like, if you're doing something you don't love to do for somebody else, you're a faker. Like,
oh God, yeah.
You feel like I felt like a faker. I felt like a fake. I felt like I didn't know how I was helping. How am I helping the people that I'm trying to buy houses from, right? How am I helping them? Like, I'm 1 in 50 that they could sell, right? They could list the thing, right? Like, what makes me different? What makes me special? The reason why I felt that way is because I didn't have a passion in doing it. And
the passion that you had at one point it fell off.
it went away.
Yeah.
And so I had this guilt that was carrying around with me everywhere of I'm not helping the company, like I'm not the best fit for them, and I'm not helping the people that I'm going in to buy houses from. Like I know how to say the words, I know how to go through the motions, like, but I didn't feel what they were feeling. And that, I don't know, you can't do things great when you don't feel like you're actually helping somebody.
Yeah.
And so that's when I went all in on the photography. I do real estate photography and videography. I do a lot of headshots. I do a lot of portraits. I do some weddings. But I'm the kind of guy that like I'll just do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
And when I'm done doing that thing, I've
seen you gone travel across the world for months at a time, and you know.
I think a lot of people are like this. Like if you want to do something, just say it out loud, and it might manifest. Like I wanted to. You said the travel all over thing. Like I thought, man, it would be like really cool if somebody wanted to hire me and pay me to go somewhere else to take photos of something.
Yeah.
Like, man, that'd be so cool, but like I'll never be good enough or whatever, you know, or I'll never like have that big of a name. Well, a couple months after saying that, someone called me up and asked if I wanted to go shoot a thing in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And that was my first gig like that. And I was like, yes, yes. How do I make it work? And so I made that work. And then, and so since then I've had a couple other things where I'm going to North Carolina and went to Florida, and I'd really like to at some point go out of the country and do it, you know, after Corona and everything.
I did not know that. That's really cool, dude.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool because like they pay for your vacation basically, and you get paid to go on vacation.
So what would you say the moral is if someone's in a situation like you're in? Like, what would you say to them?
Well, I don't know, because everyone's different, and I'm not an absolutist about things, but I think that if there's somebody out there like me and anything that I've said like resonates with them, I think I think you got to go with your gut, and even if things don't make sense, because I took a big pay cut. I was making really good money with Fasterhouse, right? And it didn't make sense to me. Like I had a limiting belief that I could actually make money doing photography. I thought photographers, I might make 30 or 40 or 50 grand. Like that's nothing, right? I wanted to make much more than that, so because I wanted to continue buying houses for rental. So I still do that. I still buy houses. I still wholesale sometimes, and I'm rehabbing a house right now that I'm going to move into. But
can I just stop you real quick?
Yeah.
It sounds like things flopped. So you were doing more heavy the investing side, the side, and then light on the photography.
Yes.
And now life is much better that you.
Real estate's just your hobby now.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So you flipped it.
Exactly. It was real estate. Photography was my hobby that I didn't get paid for.
Yeah.
Or sometimes got paid for. But real estate, and I'm surrounded by people. Like if you're listening to this podcast, you probably listen to a lot of podcasts. You're probably following a lot of influencers who have this message about grinding and hustling and working late hours, and that stuff is not inherently bad. To me, I don't like those words because it means doing something I don't like to do for a long period of time forever.
Yeah.
Until one day when I'm 65, I can go, finally, I can relax and do something I want to do.
And get my head surgery.
I mean, maybe it's true. Like, you have to do it in the beginning or like in short sprints, but like, you can't keep that mindset forever. You're gonna just burn out and lose your passion. And
I think there's got to be something that can keep you working in long hours, in that, right? There's got to be some aspect of it that it doesn't feel like work to you, right?
Right.
But you can. It's not the hustle and grind because it's effortless in a sense.
Yes.
There's got to be something like, I don't like every part of this business. You don't like every part of this business, do you? Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, and do you like every part of photography?
I outsource a lot of my editing.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, I think it's like the hustle and grind thing. I totally resonate with what you're saying about that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, your VAs are gonna have fun with our editing.
That's gonna be me, 100%.
Is it?
Yeah. But like things, I've learned that same thing too. Like outsource the things you don't want to do.
Is that something you learned from coaches, or is it something you kind of came to know, or what?
I think I learned that from I can't be the one putting all the stamps on the letters.
Yeah.
And so I think I learned that from real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And my family, we're the type of entrepreneur, we're the type of business owner that wants to do everything.
Yeah.
You know those guys who they want to do the accounting and they want to work on the car and they want to hire the people. They want to do everything.
You're a constant technician. They can never get out of that.
Yes, and the constant technician. That's kind of was the default way of thinking for me, and I need to focus on trying to be a better business owner and not being a better employee for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I got to a point where all my real estate editing I outsource, because I'll go shoot 4 or 5 houses. That might take 5 hours. If I want to edit it, it takes another 4 or 5 hours. And I don't want to do the things I don't want to do.
So more houses you could be out shooting.
Exactly.
More gigs.
Or doing nothing. If I want to relax,
yeah.
That's the other thing I learned is that, man, in 500 years and 5 billion years and 10 billion years, none of this really matters. I get one life, and I shouldn't be spending it doing, I shouldn't, my system of how I live should not include doing things that I don't want to do on a daily or weekly basis.
Amen.
I would,
your time and your freedom, man.
If I don't want to do something, if I want to do nothing, if I want to watch Netflix for an hour, right?
Go ahead.
I don't want to feel guilty for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think everyone does that kind of shit. We all do things, and I think we sometimes have this guilt, I should be reading a Carnegie book right now, right? Or I should be meditating for 30 minutes right now. And all those things are great, but we're all human. Nobody actually, except for the maybe Tony Robbins and a handful of people actually do that stuff forever.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, I know some guys will look down on oh, you should be wasting time on watching sports or going to games and stuff. If you love sports, that's your passion, then what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Right.
So okay, you're not working on your real estate business, you're doing something for you.
Yeah, life is multidimensional, and if you make it all about business or just one aspect, some people are like that, you know what I mean?
Boring.
Some people are built that way, but there are some people who they work 18 hours a day on their businesses, and that's it. That's just not me. So, and you don't have to be money motivated either. Even to be in real estate, you don't have to be money motivated. You just have to find a way to
make it fit,
to make it to make it resonate with you.
Yeah.
And then when that stops working, don't be afraid to go, okay, it might be time for something different.
Good stuff, man. Speaking of things you don't like to do, I want to touch on it really quick because you and I you got me motivated actually to do the 75 Hard program.
Yes.
You put together a little Facebook group.
Well, let's tell. What is 75 Hard? Define it for us.
All right. So if you don't know what it is, it's more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge. So it's a very rigid program, 75 days straight, 2-day workouts, one outside, drinking a gallon of water a day, read 10 pages of a book. You have to read, not audiobook. Stick to a diet plan and no alcohol. Am I forgetting anything?
I think
that's it. Yeah. It's really freaking rigid, man. I did not go my entire adult life, I think, without having a drink for 75 days. So I was I don't know if I can do this. And what did that do for you, business wise? For me, it created so much discipline and just became so much more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious though, what it meant to you.
For business?
Yeah.
Well,
I guess it helped my business because I feel like a better person now. I'm more
confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 75 Hard did a lot, and it's hard to. It was very holistic for me. Like you said, the mental part. So the biggest mental takeaway that I got was that I had more like I was giving up a lot sooner in a lot of ways than I could have given, you know. So in terms of business, it's kind of hard to quantify because it's not like I made more money necessarily, but I was more present in a lot of ways. So especially like with no booze, right? Like being totally sober for 75 days. You're more present when people are around. I think that the discipline though, it might have made things a little more hectic sometimes because you have at least, you know, probably 2 hours every day is dedicated to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got an hour and a half of working out, and then all the other.
Then you got reading, and then the other stuff.
Yeah.
Then you got your food prep, and there are some days where you're like, I don't know how I can do this. Like, I don't know how I can physically, with the amount of hours in the day. And there were some days that like I wouldn't get home till like 11:30 at night for whatever reason, you know, like on a project or something, and
still need to
I had a workout to do.
Yeah.
So can I challenge you for a second here?
And
then maybe, so you say that you didn't want like hustle and grind and everything like that. It's not what you want to do, but then you just say like how challenging this is, which is kind of a hustle and grind. So I guess why did you want to do it in the first place?
Well, so yeah, that's a good question. So because I wanted to accomplish that, I wanted to do something hard to prove to myself I could do something hard, right?
Yes.
For the sake of being hard.
So that reason I asked that is that just because someone says they don't want to hustle or don't want to grind, for those who like almost, I don't want to say worship it, but like, for lack of a better term, worship that kind of ideal. It's not that people who don't value that are necessarily lazy. They do want, like yourself, and you know, like you want to find things that challenge you for sure.
Right.
It's just like you don't want that to be your default mode through life. Right, you did 75 hard. You proved yourself. It's kind of like a hero's journey sort of thing, and so you came out the other end. And you feel better about yourself, right? Build confidence and things like that. And show that you're still disciplined.
Right.
But it's important, like you said, to not fall back into just tear it all down, everything you just went through, and fall back into all your old habits.
Yeah.
Like even though if you scale it back, I mean, I'm not going to do the 2-day workouts. I'm having a beer on Friday. It's created all these micro habits that are these new disciplines where it's like, man, I feel like I got to do some kind of exercise a day, even if it's not a grueling workout.
Yeah.
I want to get outside and go for a walk.
Well, I think the experience of something like that you just guys went through, and other hardships too and struggles, it shows that you're tough. And so you have that now in your mental library. You can go back to that, pull it out, and say, hey, I've overcome some shit, and I can do it again, right? And so it gives that confidence moving forward in the world, I feel like.
Well, I think you realize throughout it, like you are capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for. You know? Yeah,
absolutely. Like I still feel it now. Like I'm not doing 75 hard. I'm drinking a beer, and most days I work out. Or most weeks 4 to 6 days a week. I do jujitsu 3 times and then lift 2 to 3 times a week. But my diet's fallen away. I drink sometimes, and I know what I'm capable of. So what could be dangerous is doing something extraordinary for yourself, right? Reaching a new height that you've never reached, and then going back to base camp, knowing that there's other heights and other mountains to climb. And so there's a little bit of a torture where you're like, what's next?
Yeah.
So what happened after my 75 days was like, I had a week where I was like, okay, great. I get to go celebrate. I haven't had a beer in a long time. Haven't had pizza in a long time. And I had a week of beer and pizza basically, right? Yeah. And I bounced back in the opposite direction, and I felt terrible. And you were just talking about that earlier today, like the contrast between the two. You get used to a certain level of health and well-being and mental clarity. And when you immediately contrast that against your old lifestyle, you feel it very hard.
I mean, my old baseline was just feeling tired all the time.
Right.
Brain fog every day.
And you don't think about that as you think about that's just who you are. And I even thought that's how everybody is. I get up and I'm like,
But it's not.
I don't want to get up.
Well, yeah, you start believing stuff that comes in your head, like, oh, I'm 35. I can never see my abs again. I'm just gonna have a dad bod forever. Like,
You start to believe those things.
Yeah.
And you think that's just how life is, or whatever. But like you can really, I don't know, like it takes a lot of work to continue that, type of. So not a lot of work, because if it's your lifestyle, it's not really work, right? But so after that week, I was like, I'm gonna do 75 hard again, and that lasted like 2 or 3 weeks before I was like, no, I can't. Like, I have to give myself a break here, and so now I'm like somewhere in between, but I'm ready for the next height, which is going to be. It's not just a physical thing for me. I'm ready for new heights with my business, and which is why I'm here.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Well, I think that's a good way to kind of leave it off. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you and kind of see?
Need photos or
Yeah.
I have an OnlyFans page, which is why no. So I'm like I said, real estate, videography, photography. That's and then headshots. And everybody needs a headshot. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. Like, you should have a headshot. The best way to reach me, just go to my website, CoreyBoyles.com, CoreyBoyles. And, if you ever want to work with me, I'd be glad to work with you too. You can see all my previous work, get a hold of me there. You can even book from there. So
very good.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything you did today, Corey.
Thank you.
You're awesome. Thank you so much. And real quick, we're using Corey's camera right now. So
I hope you like the added production.
If it's good quality, we're using my camera. If it's bad,
it's
nothing to do with me.
It's one time only. All right, see you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.